Samaritan's very interesting because it's a take on uh, when you are born with supernatural gifts, and then you realize things aren't turning out as well as you thought, and perhaps even tragedy occurs. This superhero says, I've had enough of trying to save society. I can't even save myself. And he goes into hiding for 25 years. And he's just a trash man living this kind of like lonely existence, but okay. And then this young kid comes along. I said, there's something about this old man here that's not ringing true. There's more to it. And he continues to get involved until finally I'm exposed. And I go back and do my hero stuff. I have a knack for that particular kind of mythology, action films, but also has heart and in relation to other people. So they can say, oh, that's like my father and son situation, and so on. So I thought there's many, many layers to this. He's like growing a beard and he works trash can, he collects old objects and fixes them. And that's symbolic of him trying to maybe fix himself. And then you have this kid who is kind of a spark plug for the whole movie. The genesis of why the film actually is happening is through his eyes. Samaritan and Nemesis are brothers, and they're quite different. It's almost like a biblical Cain and Abel. They're different. And they start to grow apart until finally they become adversarial. One is trying to keep the city a wonderful place to live, safe, and the other is trying to destroy it and turn it into a corrupt situation, kind of like Batman and Joker. It's your classical adversarial situation, except they're brothers. And then an event happens one night that has some pretty tragic results, and one of the brothers disappears. Well, it's superhero and anti-hero, but these people are vulnerable. They can die. So they're not impervious. Like, I mean, it's hard for me to, how do you root for Superman? I like it and all that, but let's face it, he's pretty bulletproof. Right? These people aren't. And they rely upon extraordinary strength and temperament to do amazing things. But they still have one foot in reality that, yeah, this is, they're not, they don't walk around in uniforms. They're like everyday people that you don't know are there. Kind of like if your neighbor was a vampire, you go, really? Okay. He looks like us. According to the way I approach filmmaking and when I've been successful at it, is the audience has to identify with the crisis and say, oh, I've been through that, or I can relate to that. And it's called pure and simple empathy. If they're not empathetic to the situation, then emotionally they're not involved. If they're sitting back and they're watching Transformers, it's like, I'm not going to be emotionally involved, but I'm going to enjoy the visual banquet, but my heart's not beating fast, that kind of a thing. So if you can get the emotionality, and that's what this has all the way through. You have a child with no father, and then you have me, isolated, getting older, so there's a combination of very realistic situations coming to fruition. I think it's very timely because we're going through some upheaval, and no one's agreeing with anyone, and cities are being fragmented. And that's exactly what happens here. And when people give up on a city, the badness comes in. And so the bad is taking over Granite City. And it's just a classical format about how do you take back what is yours that you built. And I sort of lead the way, but the whole neighborhood now goes, we got to start doing it on our own, because after the last situation, we don't know where I go. And now they're sort of left on your own. It's really a morality tale, but very, very exciting to watch. In this one here, it was more of trying to regain some quickness, some mobility. This had nothing to do with being actually physical. There's no taking off of his shirt and doing this kind of thing. I wanted to be more invisible. In other words, you wouldn't be able to pick him out and say, "Oh yeah, look at him. That guy's all yoked up with a big neck." It's pretty obvious. He blends in because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be Joe Smith. I mean, I even chose about the most simple name I could find, Joe Smith. Joe Schmo was taken, unfortunately, but Joe Smith was there.